Hello everyone, it's Tracy here, back with another Know How Friday video. Today I'm starting with a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I have two different colors distressing, so I'm actually going to pull in a third. So I have the tumbled glass and the faded jeans, and I'm just putting a little bit of both of those on my nonstick craft sheet. And then I'm also going to pull in a little bit of the new cracked pistachio. And I'm just spritzing each of these with a little bit of water. I want to wet them down because I'm going to create a watercolored background. And then I'm just taking a regular old paintbrush from the craft store and applying that to my watercolor cardstock. Now you could coat the cardstock with water first if you want it to blend a little bit better, but I just added quite a bit of water to my ink so that the colors did blend together really well, and it was a really light colored background. They weren't too saturated in their color. So I'm going to cover the entire piece of cardstock with this color. Even though the bottom part isn't going to show, I'm still just going to cover it in case I want to use that side as my top versus the other part. I just have a little bit of options when it comes to whichever side I want to actually show on my card. So I just added a little bit more water because it was kind of drying up there and it wasn't blending well, but I'm just adding the little bits of color, kind of just randomly choosing which color I use, and I don't wipe off my brush in between just because I still want the colors to blend together. And then when I finished that, I am impatient, so I went ahead and dried it with my heat tool, but you could let it air dry if you wanted to. Alright, so it's all dried, and I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back and then stick that down on my nonstick craft sheet. And then I have this stencil from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to place that over it and then secure it into place with some washi tape. And it's still kind of buckled a little bit just because it was the watercolor cardstock, but I just did my best and tried to keep it pushed down as much as I could. So I'm going to apply some white embossing paste. I'll take my palette knife, scoop some up, and then apply it all over my watercolor piece. Again, you wouldn't have to do this towards the bottom of the card because that's not going to show, but I still did the whole thing anyway. You want to make sure you get every little bit of the piece that is on top of the cardstock. So you want to get it all covered and evenly spread out over your stencil, and then scrape off any excess, and then you can scrape that right back into the jar just so that you don't waste any. And then you want to go ahead and clean up your stencil and supplies and everything right away so you don't want it to dry on there. Alright, so now I'm using the beautiful stencil from, die cut from Simon Says Stamp, and I have a piece of white cardstock. And I'm just lining this up in the middle. It does cut out the entire thing with the line below it, but I want to keep it so that there is some extra space, the white space on the bottom. So I'll show you how to run that through your die cut machine without completely cutting it. So I'm using the grid mat, making sure that it is straight, and then I'm going to secure it into place with some washi tape. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out if I'm doing this correctly, so I only have to do it once. So I just secured both sides down, and now I am going to place this on my Cuttlebug, but I'm going to very carefully place it so that the one side is off the edge of my cutting plate. You can see it hanging off a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and run that through my Cuttlebug. And what that's going to do, the edge that is not in between those plates is not going to cut. So you'll see when I pull this out, only the words and the top part cut, but it didn't cut on the bottom. So go ahead and lift that up. And then you can see how I still have that extra white space on the bottom. So go ahead and poke out all the little extras there. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp another sentiment below that. So this is from the Simon Says Stamps So Beautiful stamp set. And I'm stamping the baby. I like these letters because they're kind of sketchy. The middle is not completely solid. It has like the little sketch lines in it. So I'm first stamping this with the Surf Blue, and I'm going to stamp this sentiment twice. The first time is with this really light color, and then I'm going to stamp it with a darker blue. So it's going to have a little bit of a shadow effect on there. So I'll stamp that baby, and you can't even really see the ink on there because it's such a light blue color. So then I'm also going to take the navy from Hero Arts and then stamp it a little bit off from that so that it looks like the light blue is the shadow. And you can't really see it on film, but you can see it in person just because that surf blue is such a light color. Alright, so now I can go ahead and assemble my card. My embossing paste is completely dry, so I'll go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of that. And then I'm going to adhere that to a white A2 size card base. And then for the beautiful part, I'm going to use some large 3D foam squares from Best Creation. And I'm going to place quite a few of those on the back. I really want to make sure that it's secure and popped up in the back, especially on the watercolor cardstock, since that does tend to warp a little bit. Alright, so I'll go ahead and peel off the backings of those, and then I can adhere that to the bottom of my card. And then I'm going to take my corner chomper and use the 1/2 inch side and just round both of the bottom corners. And then take a few white sequins from Pretty Pink Posh and just add those on to my card. I have some bigger ones and smaller ones. And then I'll adhere those into place with some Tombow Mono Multi Glue. And then to the center of each one, I'm going to use my Viva Decor silver pen and just add a silver pearl into each center of the sequin. And then that is my finished card for today. So hopefully you enjoyed this watercolored background card. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to my channel to catch all of my latest videos, and I will see you back here next time. Bye!